So let's talk about it. How did you first get into cycling, and when did you get into cycling?
Wow, that's an easy one. I'm a little bit
Yeah.
older and I started late. So I got divorced about 20 years ago and I needed something for therapy, going through that life changing event. So I went out and I bought two LL Bean hybrid bikes. I think they were like $300 each. You say, why did I buy two? Well, one for me. And I figured if I met somebody, maybe they could ride with me, right? Well, I hardly ever used the
Smart to
second
plan
one.
ahead. Yeah.
I used the second one once with my rebound relationship, and that was about it. It sat in the garage for years. But so that's how I got into it. I started, 1 mile, and I went 2 miles, and I went 3 miles and 4 miles. So, tip number one, start slow. Don't go out and kill yourself trying to do 10 miles or 20 miles if you've never ridden before. But that's why I got into it. And, it was meditation. I'm also a fly fisherman. It's like, I guess, tell the story. When I step onto a stream to go fishing,
Hmm.
my world shuts off. I just forget about everything. And when I hop on a bike and start riding, same thing. Whatever was going on in my life and that day, it just takes me right out there. It's gone, wiped out. So
So kind of the solitude aspect of it, part of
yeah,
it as well.
it's like my meditation, my spirituality, my church. It's just like, you know, it just clears the mind for
Hmm.
anybody that, and we all need that these days with the craziness going on in the world, right?
Yeah, yeah. Everybody needs their outlets, and hopefully, well, in your case, it's definitely a healthy outlet. So, did
Yeah.
you try anything else, or was it just I need something? And did you ever cycle before? Did
I
you do spin
did probably
classes
as
or
a
what? Like,
kid. I
okay,
was no, actually, there was this big gap. I probably cycled up until I left for college when I was young. Then I didn't ride a bike for almost 20 years, 15, 20 years. And I just, I need to do something. I want to get in shape. I want to have a good head, keep my mind. So it helped a lot. I started with a hybrid. Then I met someone. They said, "Why don't you try a road bike?" I was riding mostly in the woods on trails. Okay, I got on the road bike. I was like, "Oh, this goes fast. This is great. I got to get a road bike." So then I got a road bike, and I rode on the roads for years and years. And then in recent years, probably in 18, I went back because I lived real close to the C&O Canal. I'm actually in the mid-Atlantic states, about halfway between Baltimore and Washington, D.C. So I have the C&O Canal, which is a famous trail that goes from D.C. to Pittsburgh. And so I ride that. It's 5 miles from the house. So that's typically where you find me most days on the C&O Canal. So in the
okay.
last couple of years, I do more gravel, bike packing, and I travel around the country. I always have just going to different events and things. So
Yeah, definitely want to hear more about that. So,
yeah.
if you could talk to yourself, back then, or someone else that wants to get into cycling at a decent level, what's required? What's the first, I don't know, three or four things that they would need to buy, and what kind of investment does it take to do this, pretty regularly?
I get asked this question quite a lot from a lot of people that I know, or like you said, just wanting to get into it. And the first bit of advice, most important, I'd say go to your local bike shop and say, hey, I want to get into biking. They'll ask you several questions. Well, what kind of biking you want to do? I don't know. I probably ride here or there, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Um, so talk to a bike shop owner. They're going to sit you on a couple different kinds of bikes, depending on what you tell them you want to do. And nowadays, I recommend getting a hybrid. And what's a hybrid? It's a cross between you can ride on the roads, you can ride it on a gravel, you can ride on a trail. There's so many options with bikes these days. And I'll talk about at the end. I've got some tips on how to find a good bike and where to look for
Yeah,
these
for sure.
things. But go to a bike shop, ride a couple bikes, listen to them, maybe go to a couple different bike shops, try a couple brands. Investment wise, like I said, when I got into it, I think I spent 200-300 bucks. Now that was a long time ago, but still today, you don't have to spend thousands of dollars to get into biking. A lot of people think that I got to have this expensive bike. I
Yeah.
always say ride whatever you have or ride whatever you can afford. If it's 300, 400, $500, go buy a used bike. Google used bike store near me. There's tons of, I know a guy in town here. He takes in old bikes, rehabs them, and sells them for a real reasonable rate. So, and start there because you don't want to spend a lot of money and then find out, oh, I really don't want to do this, right? It's like anything
Yeah,
else.
very
You
true.
wouldn't buy a Harley, you buy something smaller and work your way up to the Harley or whatever, right? See if you like to ride a motorcycle and feel comfortable doing it. Um, so start simple. Um, find some people that are knowledgeable to hang out with, network with, a group online. Most bike shops have groups of people that ride together. That's another thing you'll find out. So, and there's new people. I ride with new people and people that have been riding a long time all the time. I love educating people on what I do and giving tips like we're doing today.